Good morning, friends, and happy Saturday. Welcome to another Saturday morning show on the Saturday Show channel that you like the most, John's Comics with Friends. Welcome back. Uh, I've been doing a mixture of my normal Saturday morning show and these community interview series. So you can find a playlist for these down below. Some great community members I've had the chance to sit down with. It's been a show that's been percolating in my mind for a long while, being that I've been hanging out on the YouTube side with the comic community for almost 7 years. There's been so many great friends and people I've met that I want to know better and I want to share with all of you and connect with all of you. So it's been a fun opportunity to have those conversations and engage with you all in the community. It's been a whole lot of fun. Today's guest is someone that I believe I first met in our chats because almost every live stream I go in, you can find this gentleman in there. He is one of the biggest supporters I've seen in our community, always there when there's charity events happening. He is always there highlighting things, always there sharing things, and just always interacting in such a positive way in our community. And then always giving JP heckling in his chats whenever he's talking about whatever meh book is hitting the spec list that week. Then later, we bonded over Vertigo, the era of Vertigo that brought me back into collecting with Why the Last Man and 100 Bullets and of course Fables. And he and I convinced JP to go all the way through Fables, and we went through every single of the original volume one with him and had a whole lot of fun talking about it. And it reinvigorated my joy for that era of Vertigo because again, it was something that got me back to reading books again, and comics specifically, and it was a whole lot of fun. So yeah, let me bring him in here, the one, the only, the unruliest of all simians. Hello, sir.
Good morning.
How are things in your neck of the woods these days?
Colder and wetter. I've been in Tennessee for 3.5 years now, and I love the scenery. But I'm a flatlander. I grew up on the coast, in the swamps. I don't.
Sure.
But other than work, things are going great.
That's fair. That's fair. I appreciate you making the time and coming and hanging out and talking funny books, because I know that there's a lot of great novels and stories that you always bring up in the chats that I'm always like, oh, I want to know more about that book or that cover. Your Instagram is packed full of books that I'm like, epic illustrated covers and really amazing pieces of artwork. In fact, this background is even, I was like, oh, I got to find an epic illustrated cover to use for for this thumbnail.
That very same book I just got like 2 or 3 months ago.
Perfect timing. I went through obviously there's so many gorgeous covers in that run, but I saw this one and I was like, that is stunning. I had to use that one. And then I ended up having to like find a way to screenshot it to get it because there's no high res scans of it anywhere. Well, let's say hello to some of our friends in the chat and then we'll get started here. We got Ruben Guzman tailgating super early as usual. And this, in the chat, in the description below, you can find Unruly Simian here on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Instagram. All that's down below. We're not going to talk Cormac McCarthy gore. Just, pump the brakes on that, buddy. We got Bleeker in the chat. What's going on, Reverend Bleeker? We got Robert in the chat. What's going on, Robert? And Katie Kaboom. What's going on, Katie? We got Matt from Impressed Comics and Alec, White Whale Comics. What's going on, Alec? JP, who we mentioned earlier. What's going on, JP? And Roscoe. Good morning, Roscoe. And Wellbore. How's it going? And I think that's it. We're all caught up. So the way the show goes, folks, I have a handful of questions that are just kind of conversation starters, and we'll bounce around and share some fun things as we get to know the Unruly Simian a little better here. But I always like to, at the beginning, try to get to know what the young collector was, what the young experience was when you first found comics, like when you were finding this medium for the first time. What was going on in your life? What were you like? What were those shops or places you went to get comics? What was that like?
All right, so all right, my old man was a pilot in the Navy, right? So when he did his first tour in Vietnam, I was like 4, 5, and my great aunt had in this little town in Louisiana, Bogalusa. My great aunt had a preschool, and there was like 15, 20 of us, right? And she taught us to read, rudimentary.
I
Remember
love
the
it.
see Dick run, see Jane,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. And so, and it was like less than a mile from my grandma's house. Like me and my mom were staying with his mom.
Okay.
And so there was a little corner drugstore walking home that had a spinner rack.
Yeah.
And comics back then were 15 cents. So my mom would give me a quarter and I'd get a comic and a Coca-Cola, right?
Perfect.
And I was buying them before I could read just to look at the picture stuff, like
Yeah.
Disney stuff. And so I was going through all that. All right, so flash forward about 2 or 3 years later, how would I have been? 9-ish.
Okay.
And we're back in that same little small town. And I was reading novels by then and your standard superhero fare. But I mean, it was just casual. I wasn't, it was just, I'd read it and didn't care what happened to it. So my old man gave me a whole dollar.
Ooh.
One day, and I walked into that little drugstore, and I sent you the picture. New Gods
Yes.
3 just jumped off the rack at me, and so I grabbed it, and just Kirby's Fourth World. It just opened up all kinds of possibilities, and from that point forward, I was a collector. I mean, I kept them nice and neat. Was trying to get the consecutive issues of what I was interested in.
Sure.
You know how we do.
I love this cover. The perspective on it with the driver turning backwards to shoot and the cityscape in the distance.
The photo cover.
Yeah.
That Kirby liked to do now and then.
For sure.
And you have to wonder if this was 20 years later, would it have been the black snowboarder?
No. Right. Look at the skis too. I love the poles. Oh my goodness.
They're keeping his balance in the air there.
Right. Yes, exactly. You can catch a cloud with one.
But that was my origin story as far as collecting and really getting into them. So I think that came out in 72, I want to say. And for the next 3 or 4 years, I was a geek.
Were you able to find any of the other issues in that run, or were you just kind of like whatever you could get? Because I know my early experiences, it was just whatever was on that rack. And if I wanted the next Uncanny, I was kind of out of luck if all they had were the Spider-Mans and the Detective Comics or whatever. So like it was hard to like complete storylines and figure out what happened next a lot of times.
Yeah, exactly. If I saw them, I grabbed them. It was catch as catch can. For the next. I got out of collecting around 76 for the first time, but for that whole 3 or 4 years, it was just whatever was on the spinner rack.
Yeah. I mean, you're at the whim of your parents in a lot of those cases, or, so it's like whatever you can find, wherever you can go, and that was the spinner rack era in general. I mean, you'd go into grocery stores and you'd have a spinner rack. They were pretty ubiquitous as far as like, whatever dime store you went in, there was a chance that you could find comics there. It was kind of cool. It wasn't niche in the fact that you could only find it at certain places. Newsstands were still a thing. Like you could go to a newsstand and, there's your magazines, there's your newspapers, and there were some comics.
Yeah, I bought in that same era. My great-grandmother, my dad's family's from New Orleans. And my great-grandmother still lived right downtown, and there was newsstands on corners.
Yeah.
And I would bug the nearest adult, hey, give me a quarter.
You're panhandling for comics. What's going on, Katie? I'm so sorry that you're going through stuff with your dad's health. I hope it goes all right. Comics helps me take care. And you know what? Let's be fair. That's what entertainment does. Is it's a little bit of an escape in some ways for some of that, for sure. So you said there was a gap in your collecting. Have you had other gaps in your collecting? I know this is, true for all of us. You get that era when maybe, now I'm dating, so I'm not interested in comics as much. You get those eras when it's like, oh no, work is everything and I don't have time for comics. So were there some gaps in your collecting and any books that maybe brought you back?
Yeah. So in '76, what was I? I was in the 8th grade. Like the year before, I bought a surfboard and then I started taking it really seriously. That was my whole life for the next 15, 20 years.
This was in Louisiana. You were surfing?
No, Jacksonville.
Okay.
My old man, we moved every year and a
Okay.
half, every 2 years, mainly up and down the East Coast. But I didn't quit reading them because a lot of my friends in school were comic geeks. But I
Nice.
just surfing is always been expensive. I didn't have the money to go
Sure.
buy on the rack. But when did the first heavy metal come out? '77, I want to say. I managed to scrounge up the 95 cent or $1.50 for them every month.
Nice.
And then when I got back into collecting, and so like jump forward to '82, I'm in the service, and a buddy of mine in the barracks would come like every Saturday. He'd go into town and he'd come back with a thick stack of comics, and
That's awesome.
so it was that golden era of Marvel. You know, Tony
Yeah.
Stark is the drunk, and
Yeah.
Byrne was on FF, and
Yeah.
Miller was on DD, and John Buscema was on Event. It was awesome.
And Claremont's writing X-Men and
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it was the Brood, Time of the Brood.
Yeah.
And DC had Teen Titans.
Yeah, Wolfman and Perez, yeah.
So I was reading all his stuff because he was cool about just letting anyone read it.
Nice.
But I didn't start buying again. I got out, I want to say, I got out in the late '84. And like 3 or 4 months later, me and my girlfriend at the time were in a convenience store to get a pack of cigs or something. And there was a spinner rack right there. And I think it was the tail end of Byrne's run on FF. And I picked it up and boom, I was collecting again for the next 6, 7 years till the early '90s. And then I quit buying floppies, and quit reading superhero comics, quite frankly. But by this time I'm in Savannah, and I'd still go to the LCS and buy trade paperbacks and the occasional wall book, but I wasn't reading new superhero stuff for like 10 years until the Ultimate stuff came out.
Oh, yeah. Which you sent me a picture for that. Let's see, where are we at? Here we go.
Yep. that and that Ultimate Spidey, it was in '02. There's a I'm living in downtown Savannah. There's a little convenience store across the street. They had a spinner rack, and I'm sitting there one day bored spinning it and grabbed those 2 comics, and boom, I've been collecting ever since.
I mean, Mark Bagley, on art for Spider-Man is kind of a staple. I feel like even the McFarlane fans or the Romita Senior fans can respect the legacy that now Bagley has left for the sheer volume of work he's done on Spider-Man. So I feel like I see his art on a Spider-Man book and I'm instantly like, okay, I gotta think about this now. And I'm not even a Spider-Man nut. Like something about his drawing of Spider-Man, it's ingrained in me now.
Yeah, he is. But I'll tell you what, back, not necessarily the exact same time period, but I'm pretty sure there was some overlap. Romita Jr. was drawing a lot of the Spidey books, and this was back when he could draw.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's lost the thread at this point.
Sure.
But back then his stuff was really good.
Yeah. I mean, I still, give love for his X-Men stuff and some of that Daredevil stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember him on X-Men, and he hadn't quite found it yet.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all, but
it was all about the inker, right? Whatever inker he had that was fine-tuning, his work at the time made a huge difference. I've been collecting since I was a kid and love them all so much. That's great to hear. Oh, and Gore says, New Gods, good science fiction tinged with mythology. Great introduction to comics.
Gore knows what he's talking about.
Gore definitely always knows what he's talking about for sure, except Cormac McCarthy. We'll let that go. I loved your Instagram too, because I get the regular Road Dog updates. I get the I get to know what's going on with Loki. I love your dog. I love seeing the music with with Loki. Can you tell us a little bit about the family situation for you now, and the connection for your? I mean, obviously Loki is a huge part of your life, and the the music that you get to sort of highlight and share with him is kind of cool. What's that like for you these days?
Loki is who he will be 10 February 12th. So he's becoming a senior citizen pup. But knock on wood, he hadn't slowed down one iota. He's
Good
still
boy.
either asleep or fifth gear. But so when I got hired by my company, the company I'm working for now, they put me on salary in like 2017. 2017. And I'm on the road. I'm all over the
Yeah.
place. And usually a job lasts about 18 months, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. And I told them straight up, my dog's going with me wherever we go, because they'll either get us a house or a hotel room,
Sure.
whatever works out. And that was a deal breaker for me. So I'm just he's been right up my ass for 10 years now, and is basically the the real family I have at this point.
I mean, that's the reality. And certainly growing up with, and my dad and my stepmother, they work for, well, they have connected in their retirement to an organization in this area who works with rescue dogs. And so as a result, they've almost always had two dogs my entire life. They've almost always had two dogs, and they're family. I mean, they're legitimately family. And Charlie, the ones they had when she's been alive, uh, one of them was like, they even called it like it's Charlie's dog. Like she comes over, that's her dog, and she and Riley would just like there's a million photos of her sleeping on this dog. She was a golden retriever, big dog, and Charlie would lay, whenever Charlie went to bed, the dog was allowed in her bed wherever Charlie was. And when the dog passed, um, Charlie asked for the collar, and she put it on one of her stuffed golden retriever dogs, and it's still in her bed. And every once in a while it'll jingle, and you think the dog's coming down the hall, like you think it's like still there. So yeah, I mean yeah, those it's way more than I think people understand who don't have pets, like what that experience is like and the connectivity that happens there. Um, so it's beautiful. That stuff is so meaningful. And I love it. It's the same with, JP and, the dogs and the cats that he's had. And, they're fun, like community members, when Rob Worst is doing his comics and his cat comes in and, and crashes on the comics in the back. I love that stuff. I think it's real, relatable for sure.
Yeah, and
Um,
remember when JP's dog was getting older and would whine every night, and he'd be apologizing, and we'd all be like, "We don't care.
no, we don't.
It's
Yeah.
your dog. It's part of the family, man."
Yeah. 100%. What's up, James? Good to see you, sir. Do you have any dogs or cats or animals in comics that you love or enjoy reading about? Have there been any, obviously the Eternals? No. Who's got the Inhumans? They've got the dog that teleports them through time and space.
My favorite X-Man,
Mm,
and since they introduced him, is Lockheed.
the
And
dragon,
Lockheed is just too cool. And I don't think he got utilized right until Whedon did Astonishing.
right?
And
That's a
then he
great point.
became a Billy badass.
Yeah. Yeah, great. And Kitty with Lockheed also was like always a fun like combo. The two of them had a great, you know, uh young X-Men and her pet kind of an attitude that it was a lot of fun.
But what is the name of the Inhumans dog? God dang it.
Um Lockjaw.
Yes, Lockjaw. Okay. There was I had it bookmarked for 6 or 7 months. It was a Lockjaw page from an X-Men run Cassidy did.
Oh,
And by the
Was
time I said, all right, I'm going to spend that much money, it got snatched up like 2 days before.
that so this was in the astonishing era?
Yes.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, because I know you're big into the original art. What got you to that phase in the collecting?
All right. So when did eBay come around? About like 95 or
It was in the
96?
90s, yeah.
So a buddy of mine showed me eBay, and I was like, ooh, well, let's see what they got in comics. So I was buying, and back then it was the Wild West. You know what I mean? It was like they didn't have the strict ratings they do now.
Sure.
But overall, even back then, I had pretty positive experiences. I bought some older, Silver Age X-Men, and so me and this guy that I bought a comic from, we started DMing each other, and he was into art, and I was like, art? That's a thing? And that's what I got hooked. This guy, I can't remember his name for the life of me. I haven't spoken to him in 20 years, but he was all about Gene Colan Tomb
Sure.
of Dracula pages.
Oh,
And
nice.
back then he had like 120 pages.
Wow.
And so that's when I started buying art, like from 96 for the next decade. That was my main focus.
Wow. Was there specific artists or runs that you were focusing on, or was it kind of just whatever you could find that was of a good price?
I was buying Bagley's Ultimate Spidey pages towards the end there.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I was buying JR Spidey pages,
Ooh, nice.
which he quit letting them go at some point.
Yeah, he probably clicked into the idea that I could hold on to these and maybe do something with them later.
But listen, I got lucky. This would have been, oh, it was right after I discovered Ultimate Spider-Man in '02. I was like, oh, can I get any of these pages? And back then they were going for like 90 to 110 bucks.
Oh my God.
And
You should have
I
called
hooked
me.
up
I've been I would have been right there with you.
freaking and the way it works is like the artist will give the inker like a third of the pages.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm sure it's different with different combos. But I
Sure.
know that's what Thibbert did with Bagley.
Okay.
So I bought a couple of pages directly from Thibbert, didn't realize it was him, and he messaged me and said, look, man, you've been buying my pages for a few months now. I'll give you first crack at them, and we can just do it direct, and eBay ain't taking 13% of my money. And I said, cool.
That's awesome.
Dude, so all right, I had when the Great Recession, or however you choose to refer to it, happened. I got laid off. I didn't have a job for 2.5 years, and I was selling art to survive. But I used to have a healthy stack
Sure.
of Bagley Ultimate Spidey pages. I've still got 2.
Wow. But it's nice that it was able to then be there for you when you needed it. That's incredible.
Yeah, but art is the most fickle market. I wound up out of
Mm.
like, I had like 120 or 130 pages total. I sold all but 5 or 6. And
Wow.
a couple of the ones I thought I'd make big bank on, I didn't. And a couple of the ones that I just threw out there, well, it'll pay for the postage and my water bill next month. I made mad money on it. It's a
Wow.
weird market.
Yeah, I think it's because it's all got to be about how tied into the seller or the market that they are, right? Because I feel like I'm always reaching out to people like Kavi or whatever to have a better understanding of where to look for things and how to find things, so that you're not either overpaying or just looking at a barren desert of there's nothing out there, because it seems very much like who you know in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I'm in this private chat on IG of a bunch of art collectors, and I am easily the smallest fish in this pond. These guys have way bigger budgets than I do, and they have all those connections. They know all the dealers,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. But it's just it's so much more expensive now than 30 years ago. The first time,
Sure.
and I mean, even taking inflation into account, it's crazy.
Yeah, everything has boomed significantly. And I think also, I think maybe it's just my perspective, but like the proliferation of digital artists now means there are fewer pages that are legitimately hand drawn pages that people can purchase. Therefore, the value maybe of the eras when people were hand drawing the pages may increase just because there's less being created currently, you know?
Oh yeah, and listen, digital artists are artists
100%.
beyond a doubt, but I don't want one of those pages. I want
And yeah,
the pencils and inks, or preferably just the pencils.
right. And I don't think you're alone. I think that's the I think the common feeling on those things. I've bought a few mono prints just because I love that run or love that artist, but it's a very different market from the original art where the inker has done work and the lettering has been attached, and you know that era where you actually compile the pieces to make the final page. It's just rare these days.
Yeah, and I know a lot of these digital guys, they'll tighten it up on the computer, print one out, and then ink it themselves.
Correct.
So that has some value to me,
Right.
but I still don't want it.
Well, yeah, because there was an artist named Lucas Wernick who does a lot of X-Men these days. He's been doing a few different titles for X-Men, and I bought 2 pages from him, and he actually does a color remark on all the pages that he sends out. So he'll print them out like you're saying. He'll draw the remark, he'll color it, he'll sign it, and then he'll send it out to you, and you can get whatever you want. You can ask for, he did a Kitty Pryde and Lockheed for me on one of the pages I got from him, and then he put color on it. He put blood on her. I said I want, because the pages had, there was like several pages in the issue where Mr. Sinister is being murdered again and again and again, and then he resets time and tries to kill them again. He keeps failing and resetting time, and every time he fails, she gets splattered with his blood, and she says, "What the heck is going on?" Right? Over and over again. So I said, "Can you draw her spattered with blood? Can you just draw it?" So he adds the red blood for me on the page. But
That
I get,
sounds great.
yeah, I mean, he was a very nice guy. I think he's from South America, so we were getting through a language barrier every time I was making my requests.
It seems like there's a astonishing amount of the artists nowadays are from South America. But
Yeah.
then you go back and look, and that's been true all along,
Oh,
especially
really?
in the horror titles and in the
Oh,
Warren books
sure.
in the '60s. There was a lot of South American and Spanish artists.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think same with the European artists from Spain and from France and from Italy. I think there's always been, you know, artists from who have a different style than the typical American style. And I think that's what makes those titles, whether it's epic, whatever, these titles where the art shines through. I think, having an original take and having an original style plays out. Um, are there are there any experiences you've had with creators that you feel like were meaningful or interesting or valuable for you? We're in an era where I feel like the gap between reading and enjoying a book and being able to connect with the creators has narrowed, and it's easier with cons and with events or even social media to have a connection with the creators. Has there been any really interesting ones that you've had?
Uh, I've only been to two cons, and one of them was very small, so that part of it is limited for me. But yeah, but what you're talking about, like, look at all the interviews Bearded gets. Oh my
Right?
God!
Yeah,
And there's a couple other guys that get pretty good guests like
for
that.
sure.
But at my first con 2 years ago at MegaCon in Orlando, which was getting to meet a bunch of people in the community, that was easily the best part of it.
Sure.
But I
Sure.
did, so I talked to Art Adams, and I talked to, was it Roy Thomas?
Sure.
And saw a couple other guys, but I did get to meet Mike Grell
Ooh.
and interact with him for a good 20, 30 minutes. And I got a commission from him that day. And so he said, "Who do you want?" And I knew 95% of the people that go up to him say, Warlord, I want Warlord. And probably 4%, the other 4 out of the other 5% are Power Girl, right? And I said, give me John Sable freelance.
Oh, wow. Look at
And
that.
dude, when I said that.
Oh, is that upside down?
Oh, is it? When I said
cool.
that, his smile lit up the room. I could tell he
cool.
was into creating this.
Amazing.
And so I gave him my phone number and we wandered around for a while. Like 4 hours later, he beat my phone and I went and picked it up. It was awesome.
That's so cool. Did you have to like roll it up to travel, or were you able to like keep it flat in a
one of the booths, you know, those thick, heavy,
plastic sleeves or whatever?
Yeah, the really heavy duty plastic sleeves. A booth was selling them. Perfect. And I grabbed 2 because I bought a print from Art Adams, a Godzilla print, the only print I've ever spent money on in my life.
That's cool. Yeah, because I always struggle in those cons to like get around and carry that kind of stuff. I try, you know, my backyard con is WonderCon in Anaheim, and that's the only one that I'll buy larger sized things because I know I can walk to my car. My car is like a 10-minute walk from the entrance to the, because the parking is you're basically at Disneyland. There's parking lots everywhere. So I pick a parking lot where I can just straight shot drop something off. In fact, I think you heard this story. Last year, I took those. You gifted my daughters those 2 Spider-Man pages of original art by John Boy Myers, and I brought them because he was going to be there, and I walked him in. I didn't carry them in originally. Actually, I went in and I talked to him and his wife, and I said, "Hey, I got these pages. Is it all right if I bring them in? Can you sign them? Is it a problem?" And they were like, "No, go ahead." So I walked and got them, brought them in. I gave it to him, and his quote to me was, "It's like looking at an ex-girlfriend after a long time." He's like, "Oh, wow." His wife came over. She's laughing and she's enjoying. And he was charging like $25, I think, a signature. And he's like, no, these are free. It's not a problem. But because he had never signed them, when he originally did them. I guess they went from him to the inker and he didn't sign them. And I guess he is dyslexic, which is why the page numbers and the issue numbers were inverted. And we had trouble figuring out which issue it was because of his dyslexia. Like he had reversed some of the numbers.
But didn't I tell you it was another artist altogether?
I think we had confused it. Yeah, we had tried to guess around, but then thankfully I got issues. I saw it. And he was like, no, I think I can figure this out. And he sussed it out, and we found the issues. And I bought copies of the originals, the first prints or whatever of the comic to go with the books. But it was fun. It was then again, I could walk it right back, set it in the car, and I didn't have to schlep it around all day. I like being able to do that. I'm not ready to do that at any other convention yet.
Yeah, now see, at MegaCon, and we had a hotel really close to the event, and it was a 20-25 minute walk.
Yeah. Well, is that the one that Bueller is always at?
Yeah, he was there that year.
Yeah.
Bueller is a character, as I'm sure you know.
I do. The year I went to MegaCon, those guys, they tied one on every single night over there at the what is that? The Twin Peaks or whatever
He drug us all there the first night, and listen, I like scantily clad young ladies as much as the next guy, but not enough to pay double for a hamburger.
Right? Yeah, they Robbie from Pop Culture Philosophers and a couple of those kind of guys.
Robbie was there the year I went too.
And John Castle, he was there. So I only joined them once or twice the week I was there because I was usually hanging out with Old Wolf. So he and I would bip off and find White Whale or whatever. But we always knew where we would find Bueller and those guys. Oh, so much fun. Are there any other things outside of comics that bring you joy? Anything maybe that you collect or other hobbies or things that are meaningful? I know the music side, you're a big music aficionado and you seem to always be highlighting either new music that you found recently or classics that you love on your Instagram. Is music the second tier for you?
Oh yeah, listen, I got most of my CDs directly behind me. Those are a pain to travel with, but I got to. Uh, I read a lot. I mean, I've always read a lot. I mean, novels. I remember
Sure.
one time I said real books, and it pissed Jen off a little bit. See, real books, but and you know we're living in a golden age of the television drama, and we
Oh
have
yeah.
been since the first episode of The Sopranos kicked off. It's been all
HBO,
uphill ever
man.
since.
Yeah. HBO kicked a whole new gear.
But I don't really. I've got a lot of DVDs of all my favorite series,
Nice.
but I can't watch them as they air. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to see 5, 6, 7, 8 in a row.
Yeah, binge it.
And let me tell you, I don't know if this is part of getting older, but I cannot. The only way I can sit down and watch a movie from beginning to end is if my ass is in the theater. If I dial one up on streaming, I'll watch 10 minutes. I might get right back to it, or it might be 2 weeks, a month. You know what I'm saying? And then a month later, I might watch 20 minutes, and then it might be a month after that. It's crazy.
The attention span is dropping, right? We're getting into the teenage phase. Maybe it's like an inverted bell curve where we've peaked and our attention span's dropping again.
But I can still sit down and read for many hours at a stretch. If I start losing that, I know it's time to go to the old folks' home.
Are there genres of prose novels that are your favorites? Are there certain writers that you go back to again and again?
All right, so check this out. When I was like 7 in second grade, and I was reading like YA novels,
Sure.
and my old man comes home from work one day, and he's got a giant cardboard box full of paperbacks, and my old man's a huge reader. And so this is the story I got from my mom. All right, he was the XO of a squadron at that time. So I don't know if you know the way this works, but the CO basically, he's sort of like the head coach of a football team. It's the coordinators that do all the work.
Okay.
The XO. So one day in the they were joking around, and my old man CO said to a bunch of the pilots in front of him, "Yeah, Lauren can't read or eat or he can't take a dump or eat without a book in his hand." So my old man gets to work one day, and they've got this giant book as a gag, right? Well, in that box was the very first Tarzan of the Apes.
Ooh.
And that was the first, I would say, more adult, even though it's pulpy and not,
Sure.
but it's if you've never read it, it's awesome. And that story has yet to be put on film in any kind of decent fashion.
Because
About
they
his
keep
parents
trying to
being
do that
shipped.
character justice, but it never seems to be
It
worthy.
never happens. And so I've been off to the races. I've been just like I read everything, mainly science fiction. That's what my old man was into.
Okay.
And I love horror, but back then, horror and fantasy, I mean, you could count the number of cats making a living at it on one hand.
Right.
And crime novels, nonfiction. I love histories of different eras and biographies.
Okay.
I'm heavily into that. And mainstream novels about like I went through a classics period, because I wanted to be able to say, yeah, I've read Crime and Punishment. Although I do like Dostoevsky a lot. Brothers K is probably the best novel ever written, in my
I don't know
opinion.
that one. Oh, I'll have to check that one out.
And but then a buddy of mine, when was this? About in 08, 09, he keeps up with modern literature. And
Okay.
he kept pushing stuff up on me, so I'm a little bit abreast of that. But basically, I read everything but romance novels.
That sounds like it.
And the more than a handful of nights I've spent in county jail, I've even read a few of them.
Gore says Tarzan books were some of the earliest things he read as a kid. The Neil Adams covers drew him in. Is that, I know that I feel like the people that read those early pulpy Tarzans also had like the early Conans and some of those books as well. Were you reading some of those at the same time?
I read, well, no, I picked up Conan much later in life as a teenager.
Oh, okay.
But I did, when I was like 8 or 9, I stumbled across a H.P. Lovecraft.
Ooh.
And I do not recommend being the only person alone in the house at night when you're 8 or 9 reading H.P. Lovecraft.
That's the stuff of nightmares.
Dude, there's his short stories and a handful of Stephen King's short stories have actually scared me while reading them, and that is so awesome.
Yeah. When I was the kid here in California, because I read, fairly dense books as a, pre-teenager. My mom has photos of me at the beach, junior high age, I don't know, 6th grade, 7th grade, reading Peter Benchley's Jaws. I'm sitting at the beach, like I'm in the scene. And, he wrote it in my part of California. It was based on, New Jersey, a New Jersey event, but he wrote it living in my part of the world. In fact, I grew up in a very tourist summer town. July is where that town makes its money. And so I could relate to the characters and the events, and I was sitting there just tearing through Jaws. and everybody's playing in the water and having a grand old time, and there's John just reading on the beach.
Oh man. All right, so that book was serialized. I want to say it was in the Atlantic.
Really?
Yeah, because I read it was like the first 3 or 4 chapters in that magazine before the book came out.
That's cool.
Dude, do you remember? That scared me. The opening scene where the drunk girl is swimming.
Yeah.
All right, if you recall in the book, she's like, she just feels like a tug at her leg, just like a bump.
Yeah.
And she reaches down and there's nothing below her knee. And
no
she
leg
feels
anymore.
her blood pouring out.
Yeah.
That scared the doo-doo out of me.
Yeah. Yeah. Very disturbing for sure. Yeah. Yeah. He had a great way with, building tension in sequences. Really great. What's up, Dio Wolf's in the chat? And I love that Matt says, I love scantily clad women as much as the next guy, but I'm not paying double for a hamburger is the realest thing I've heard on YouTube or in life. What's going on, Matt? You are either mentally strong or a sadist. I mean, I could be both, Matt. I don't pin me in. So I don't know if you had the opportunity in the military to travel a whole lot. It sounds like with your dad, you were traveling around a lot. Are there any places you've been in the world that were among your favorites that hold some meaning for you?
Whatever military travel I went through wasn't fun times, but
Sure.
I was stationed in Southern California, Camp Pendleton.
Yeah, it's right down the street from me.
For 3.5 years. Now, let me think. Yeah, 40 months. And out of that 40 months, I was there maybe 18 or 20.
Okay.
But do you know where Trestles is? The surf spot?
It's a great surf spot.
All right. So Camp Pendleton's divided into like 9 or 10 smaller camps.
Correct. Yeah.
And I was at not San Onofre, the one up north of it. I can't believe I can't think of it. But at any rate, it was right a 2-mile shot out the back gate. There was Trestles. So that was awesome. And I also got to go down to Baja and just cruise for a week and get little point breaks, little sand breaks.
Sure.
That was probably the best time I've ever had traveling.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I mean, so I grew up in this area, and yeah, I learned to surf on those same breaks. I'm not as good as I used to be. I definitely body surf more than actual surf these days.
Yeah. All right. So you've been to San
Onofre
State Park?
Oh yeah.
It's a wonderful beach break. It's not the wedge,
gorgeous. No,
but it's a great body surfing wave.
Yeah. We do summer camps through my school, and so they'll have week-long ocean camps, and usually every Friday during the week my daughters and the teachers will take the kids down because my daughters are old enough to be like aides or whatever. And they'll go down there and they'll have a surf lesson down on that beach. So like
Oh,
it's like
cool.
it's every Friday. And I've got some great photos of Charlie and Kate learning to surf down there.
Well, we used to do, me and the guys in my platoon, we would like on a Saturday, because the great thing about the San Onofre, even if it's completely flat, there's always a nice 3 or 4 foot shore break just
Oh
hitting the
yeah.
sand.
Oh, for sure.
We'd get either a keg of beer, or like many cases, dig a hole, bury it, pack it with ice, and just
Yep.
body surf all day long.
Perfect. What a great day. That sounds like an awesome day. Fantastic. And then again, trips down to Baja. I mean, you're getting those roadside tacos and you're and you're hitting the waves. It's such a unique experience. So it's fun to so what time in your life, what years were you in Camp Pendleton?
I first got there in the spring of '81.
Okay.
So from '81 till late '84, I was there off and on.
Okay. That's fantastic. We were like, just a little ways away from each other.
What is the name of not I got to surf Black's Beach in the winter of '82,
Okay.
and it was best 2 days of my life probably. It was just massive. And this was before, you got these guys now traveling the world seeking out huge waves.
Oh yeah. Those are the big wave guys. I'm not crazy like that.
But no, yeah, you won't see me at Nazar or freaking Chopu.
Yeah.
But this was, it was 20-foot faces, bigger. It
Ooh.
was awesome. And there'd be 300 guys on the beach just standing there watching, and maybe 5 or 6 of us out,
Brave enough to go out there. Yeah.
And
yeah,
I was a kid, man. I was a teenager.
You're in the military and you're bulletproof at that point.
Yeah, now my old fat ass, I'll go paddling around in the shore break now, and that's about it.
So we had mentioned a little bit about music and movies and TV. I guess we kind of hit on some of that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, the teachers. Did you have any teachers in your life or mentors or people in your life that left a big impression on you or had an impact on you in your life? And I asked this question because obviously working in education, I like to hope that everybody has that individual. Not everybody does, I suppose, and some have multiple. But were there people that left that impression on you?
Oh yeah, my high school history teacher, American history teacher, Mrs. Conklin.
Okay.
All right, so that's what I wound up majoring in college, was history, because it fascinates me. World history, and by world I'm chauvinistically mean Europe, and the history of our country, which is fascinating. But she was a great teacher. I mean, by 10th and 11th grade, I dropped out like halfway through 11th grade. I didn't care about my grades. I was one of those snotty
teenage.
I don't know as much now as I assumed I did back then, And but she was super cool, and I actually studied for her class because I wanted to get good grades in it.
Sure.
And we had a surf club. So once every semester, when we knew there'd be waves, we could get out of class, every member of the surf club, and go spend the day at the beach. She was super cool.
This is in Jacksonville?
This would be in Pensacola.
Pensacola.
All right, so like my old man's a pilot, right? I was like 3 or 4 when he got his wings. About every other duty station, he'd be back in Pensacola as an instructor.
Okay.
And that's where he retired. But she was also, now check this out, and this was slightly before my time with her, when Nixon was going through Watergate, and right before then, and she would refer to him in class as Tricky Dick. And so when they were going through the whole early stages of Watergate, she encouraged her students to write their representatives, to hold him accountable.
Good.
So like at one point, like a year later, and this is after, he resigned and Ford became president. Ford was in Mobile, which is like 50 minutes from Pensacola, for some visit. She got visited by Secret Service agents because these kids had all of them had wrote in their letters, Mrs. Conklin told us to write you.
She's grooming them.
But she was great.
That's
and
hilarious.
I had a couple of really good college professors.
Were they usually in that same field as far as history?
Oh yeah. All right, so check it out. So I had my advisor in college was Dr. Stone, a seriously devout Christian, but not, not one of those that's putting it out there for the world to see. She was just very quiet about it. But she was heavy duty. So like I took her it was a European class. I want to say it was like 15th and 16th century. But the first day, so this is like a junior level class, right? So it's like there's like 12, 13 of us in her class. She hands out this 50-page syllabus. And we're flipping through it going, oh my God. She goes, this is the first of 3 syllabi you will receive this quarter. Which was awesome. That's awesome if that's your major.
Right.
And that's what you're interested in. I had her for several classes. But then I find out she's teaching introductory, required history classes and laying the same thing on these kids. I could not imagine, being the person that just wants to get through these 2 classes I got to take, and this lady just wailing me upside the head with a reading list.
Yeah, there's always those teachers, right, that are laying it on extra thick. I realized I skipped over a question about charities. I feel like when there's a big charity event, auction thing going on, I always see you in the chat supporting those things. Are there charities that mean something special to you that have been things you've returned to in your life over the years?
I have been a member of the ACLU for 30 plus years, if you want to consider that a charity. And Greenpeace for the same amount of time.
Wow, good for you.
And if I showed you that, I sent you that concrete book, Fragile Creature. You can get it in trade paperback for $7 or $8, and I would highly encourage everyone to read it. And this came out 25 plus years ago.
Okay.
And the issues he discusses in that book, VOV, pollution, and our effect as a species as a whole on the earth as an ecosystem, has not gotten any better since he wrote that book.
Sure. Yeah, and I've never heard of this, so I'm going to have to go seek this out.
Oh, Concrete is such a great, great series. He's one of those guys like Prime Miller or Byrne or Perez that, man, it pisses me off. I'm so jealous of your ability to draw, and you're a great plotter too. That's just, come on, God. You can't give one guy everything.
Right.
But Concrete, all right, he started that. It started out in Dark Horse Presents short stories. And then he got his own book, and it was bi-monthly.
Okay.
And I think it ran for 11 issues. But he's not one of those guys. He's like sort of like a Jim Starlin.
Okay.
He can really put out a really great book, but only every other month. He's not a Kirby.
Well, sure. Yeah. Those guys that can do, whenever Frank Miller was doing 2 issues of Daredevil a month, drawing it and writing it, it's like, I don't think that kind of person exists anymore.
No. But Concrete was it was that and Dead World were the 2 books in the mid 80s that I look forward to the most on my full list.
We got Old Wolf in the chat. What's going on, Tony? And we got Sheena. Sheena was on with Cliff this morning. I was having a lot of laughs with them when I first woke up this morning. Those 2 are hilarious. I appreciate you coming by, Sheena. And then I guess the last one, I like to finish with questions about achievements in life or journeys that we're all on. I think we have an issue in our culture of focusing on the result and not the work that went in. It's easy to be like, well, this person's got something I don't have, versus no, I've been growing in this area. I've been working. This is something I'm proud of for myself. Is there any achievements you feel proudest of in your experience?
Uh, I'm not trying to be preachy here, but I was when I was a young Marine, I was telling you, we'd go down and bury a keg in the sand. That was even before that. By the time when I was going to college, I had a professor, because I am not a math person. And
Okay.
there's like 2 college level algebra classes that were required.
Right.
I
Yeah.
had a teacher, and she was actually my age, because I was in my late 20s when I went to college. And her office hours, her class was like 7:30 to 9,
Okay.
and her office hours were 6:30 to 7:30. And if it weren't for her, I wouldn't have passed this class.
Okay.
But at any rate, I'd be in there every morning. She'd be helping me out, and we got along. We were cool. And she said one morning, she goes, "Layne, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?" I said, "Shoot. How long have you been an alcoholic?" And I kind of looked at her, and she goes, "You come in here every morning, and I can just smell the Jack Daniels sweating out of your pores." And I was I didn't stop drinking for another 15 years.
Wow.
So I
But
think,
she could tell.
oh, everyone knew it. I knew it. But I was one of those guys. I was, I'm gonna, to hell with it. And I think, all right, some of the literature I read, and some of my heroes were famous drunks.
Mm.
But then, have you ever read, I know Gore has, Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace?
No.
It's like the great American novel of our generation.
Okay.
If And we could debate that, but I mean, it's recognized as one of them. But
Sure.
at any rate, part of that book, a big chunk of it, takes place in a rehab center, and the main character in that rehab center, sort of like, that made me open to seeking help and getting sober. So
Wow.
I've been sober a good minute now, and I know it's probably the achievement in my life that my parents are the proudest of.
No, but I think that, it should be something that you are proud of. I don't think that's preachy at all. I think that's an accomplishment. Like my stepmother quitting smoking, going through that journey for her, easily the hardest thing she's ever had to do in her life. But when she decided to do it, she's that kind of a person that, she's going to hold herself accountable once she decides that that's what needs to happen. Uh,
Well, look at Keith Richards. He's the classic example. A man was addicted to heroin for decades, kicked it. He's doing great, but he's still smoking his lungs out.
right.
Nicotine is not, I mean, I quit smoking many, many, many years ago. I got a dip in my mouth right now.
Yeah, it is a tough one for sure. Gore says Concrete is a unique work. Chadwick is brilliant. Unruly Simian, he wrote and drew a moving Superman story for DC Christmas special in '89. I talked about that story on Magic Lasso's channel in December. Oh,
I
I
will
didn't know.
check it out. I will check it out.
Thanks,
He,
Gore. I appreciate that.
one of Chadwick's first gigs was as the artist on Dazzler, but it wasn't her series. I think it was like a backup feature. He did like 5 or 6 issues of like 7 or 8 page stories.
Okay.
All right, so, and he just, when he broke away from, when he got the gig at Dark Horse, I
Okay.
can't think of the name of the story or the issue, but he wrote like an 8 or 9 page story of a character with the same powers as Dazzler.
Okay.
It wasn't Dazzler, but how this would work in real life, and it was fascinating.
And that was a Dark Horse book?
It was in Dark Horse Presents, probably one of the first 30 issues or so.
Wow. Okay.
But that's what Concrete is. Concrete is, imagine, roughly analogous, The Thing
It
from
looked
the
like that
FF.
for sure. Yeah.
If you had this sort of character in real life,
What
in
would
in
that be
our
like?
world where there are no superheroes and villains fighting it out, you got this
Right.
one anomaly.
Right.
And so
What
that's
does that
sort of
mean
what
for that person?
That's what he did with the Dazzler character, and it was brilliantly written, and he's a great draftsman.
I'm gonna have to check some of this out. Ozzy said cigarettes were harder than heroin. Yeah, I mean, I believe it. That's just been from my experience, what I've seen for sure. Sir, thank you so much for spending time this morning. I didn't want to. If there's any other, were there any other items you wanted to share? Were there any pieces that we didn't get to?
Let me all right, for those of y'all that read, this is science fiction, but it would not fall under
Sorry.
hard sci-fi. It's she basically writes fantasy, but with science fiction trappings. Her name is
Okay.
Sherry S. Tepper, and she started writing in her early 50s. Like, she worked for New Mexico for like sort of like the same job JP does.
Okay.
Only I think she was more in the office side of things. You know, the Department of Natural Resources.
Okay.
But so at any rate, she retires and starts writing. She takes on all the big subjects, this sort of stuff that's affecting us right now. And but does it in a very entertaining way. I mean, even if the stories weren't semi-allegorical, they'd just be fun reads. And I've got this in hardback. This is the first edition paperback, but I've given away this book a dozen times in my life. That's how much.
You just keep buying paperbacks of it and keeping them for when you need to give them away.
Sherry S. Tepper, I highly, but not Grass. She's written a book called Grass.
Okay.
Very dry, very boring. Please don't make that be your first read by her.
Stick with that one that you held up there. I guess that's a great topic, those books that we buy knowing that we'll give them away, right? The books that we're like, "Oop, there's a copy of that. That's a good price. I know how good this is. I'll give it to somebody. I'll just get it." I think we all have those books, whether it's comics or whatever, that we buy extras of.
Haldeman's Forever War, I've given away a half a dozen times. And
Okay.
the first, you know how they put out those compendiums of fables?
Sure. Oh,
I bought 4 of the first volume and gave them away to friends, just hoping to spark their interest.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you taking the time and chatting this morning. It's been great to hear more of your journey and the books and stories and music that has inspired you. So I appreciate you making this opportunity happen.
Oh, thank you, man. It was good just to get to sit down and talk to you. I hope you can make it
Yeah.
back to MegaCon one day. I'll make a point to be there.
I definitely want to get back to some East Coast cons. Obviously, we know that flying and going to a comic book convention is a massive luxury in in the world today. But I do want to get back to the East Coast again and see some friends. Although obviously I was just in Florida for White Whale's wedding. That was nice to be there for that. But to be at MegaCon for sure, and Heroes Con is that the one in
North? Yeah, I want to hit up Heroes too.
Yeah, I want to do Heroes Con at some point. Those are the ones. And at one point, I know that I had some friends that were trying to talk me to Dragon Con. They were really interested in Dragon Con. That's Georgia, I think, somewhere.
Yeah, that's Atlanta. I've heard good things about it. I've never been.
Yeah, I know that one has a lot more like cosplay involved and things like that. But definitely interested in doing some of those for sure. I appreciate all the people in the chat, the comments, the interaction's been great. I appreciate everybody coming and hanging out with us. I always will be trying to do more of these here in 2026, getting to know the community and sharing some of the interactions and the friends that I've made. So stay tuned for more of these for certain. Tonight, I don't think I'm on any live streams, but sometimes people remind me. I know that tomorrow night will be Dungeons and Dragons. And then Tuesday, I'm on No Good Comics for Omni X-Men. We are reading annual X-Men annual number 9, where Storm has Mjolnir. So some more Art Adams. So it'll be more Art Adams talk going on over there with No Good. And then beyond that, I'm not certain. So there you go. There's a couple of things coming up. I dropped my DC and Marvel favorites from 2025. and the indies are coming next week. I've got like 15 books from 2025 people should check out. And I just got my in-stock trades order, and it includes some new indies that I hear good things about. Brian K. Vaughan's Spectators hardcover is in here, so I get to read that. So some more indie stuff coming if that's your thing. So tune into all that good stuff. And I will catch you guys all again soon enough. Have a great afternoon.